Welcome to the Heare podcast. So glad to have Jesse Breffle here with us. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you.
Yeah, so glad to have you. It's been, we connected kind of at the beginning of this whole Heare Brotherhood adventure, and you've been an awesome voice in the community. You've been to a couple retreats now on both sides, like staffing and attending, and you saw probably a big evolution from version 1.0 to like what it is now. Yeah. And man, I've like one of the things that have stood out to me about your presence in the community is just this deep sense of wisdom and empathy. I've just seen the way that you have interacted with people both online and in person, and I just feel like you have a real gift for that. So I just wanted to like acknowledge that and say thank you for that, for bringing that to the table.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Gonna embarrass you right out of the right off the gate here. But I'd actually love to just start with like a little bit of your background, just give our audience some context of like who you are, what you're all about, and just, you know, the high level, and then we'll start diving into, because there's some really interesting stuff that you've been involved with and that you have participated in or helped organize and so forth, and we'll dive more into those. But go ahead and give us the high level intro.
Well, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. I have loved being a part of the community, the Heare Brotherhood, and it has been really cool to see things grow from like day one, all your guys' different iterations, the podcast adventure and the app adventure, and then it's been really awesome to see these the retreats like just blossom into something really beautiful for a lot of guys. And kind of where I fall in, I have actually fun in an interesting way. I've mostly worked with women my whole life.
Yeah.
And so like the Heare Brotherhood was like the first time I was really like, oh, group of guys, obviously went to school and everything, studied international relations, international business, and then one of my first jobs out of college was with like a humanitarian aid nonprofit, and like all girls. So it was me, my coordinator, and then just like a team of 20 girls, volunteers, and worked with them for a long time. They like came in and out, different volunteers, and there were some guys here and there, but like I was working
you and the
with girls.
women mostly.
Yeah. And then even the projects we were doing, it was mostly like affecting women in the community.
Yeah.
Like Fiji and then Nepal. And so it's just been kind of an interesting arc of my own. Of the majority of my work has been with women and young women, kind of helping to empower them in different ways. And so, not that I didn't want to work with men, but it's been cool to kind of reconnect with like the males in this community and also just like learn from them.
Yeah.
But I think I've been really blessed to be able to work with women because just kind of being able to see the world from a different perspective, I think has helped me in a way kind of lean into my masculinity in that way. Because I think with like the manosphere and all this other stuff that's going on right now, there's a big emphasis on like aggression and like being the monster and
being dangerous.
And stuff. But then like you get married and your wife really wants you to be gentle. So it's like, it's odd. And like the women that I have worked with, like this kind of a gentle approach, creating a safe space has been like the most impactful for them, for either healing or being able to, trust you and things like that. Like being able to do that as a man has been just eye-opening, I guess.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
So the women, or you've served with women as part of the staff team, right? But then there's the audience that you have served has primarily been girls. Is that?
Yeah.
And tell us like in what circumstances, like who are you serving typically in those? I know you travel and you go out there on site and you do projects and things. Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, when I was working with that first outfit, it was like we worked in Fiji with the orphanage.
Mm.
That was like my first time, working with youth.
Yeah.
And it was just like tutoring and stuff.
Okay.
But then like we worked with like I was teaching like female reproductive hygiene to girls in villages,
Oh,
and,
wow.
same thing, like as a man teaching that, you to young women and young men, which was really cool actually, kind of helping them to feel comfortable in their own bodies. Like you have to be really, respectful, but also like make it seem normal.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these communities in different parts of the world, like female menstrual hygiene is like no one talks about it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a nightmare in some of these communities of the different like cultural
just customs around
customs,
it.
That just we would say are like insane and crazy and ugly. But it's funny because you come home and people still are afraid to talk about here. It's like okay, well,
yeah.
But I'd say the bulk of my work was in Nepal, and same thing. We were teaching female menstrual hygiene. We were working with young women who were affected by sexual violence, human trafficking, abandonment.
Wow.
And some of them as young as like infants, some of them as old as like 20, all from men in their lives. Like those are the perpetrators, and they're not just random people on the street. These are mostly their fathers. These are mostly their uncles. These are mostly their brothers, grandparents. Like
wow,
it gets ugly pretty fast.
Yeah.
So as a man, coming into these spaces, like you're already technically like the enemy.
Yeah.
And for good reason. Like
right.
there's no reason for any of these girls to trust men in their lives. And so when I got there, I was they called me Jesse Mama.
That's awesome.
Which in Nepali like translates to Uncle Jesse, but
oh, okay. How funny. I was like, wait, were they trying to
exactly.
like feminize you in some way? That's so funny.
Because they they'd say it and I was like, I don't know what this means. Yeah.
But it's Uncle Jesse.
It's Uncle Jesse, yeah.
From Full House. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. I was like, finally, I've lived up to the name. No, and it was kind of intimidating because I was like, some of these girls, like the uncle is the bad guy.
Right.
But the CEO of the partner organization we were working with, she said that she's like, no, like you're my experiment. We need to help these girls trust men again.
Right.
And I want them to have like an uncle that is good and is like someone that they can be like, oh, men aren't all bad,
Wow.
And so that's a whole process, obviously, like building trust slowly and being really delicate with the situation, making sure like you don't approach them, you wait for them to approach you, and you let them like they get to be the one in power of the situation in the relationship. And so
so there were some specific guidelines of how to show up in that setting. Wow, that's interesting. So were there any more? I'm just curious about that. Were there any more? Like you let them approach you, they would initiate conversation or whatever, and you were just there. Otherwise, you just like present.
Yeah.
And being non-threatening. Okay.
There were like other projects going on. It was post-earthquake, so we were like helping with earthquake relief and other things. But in this shelter that we were partnering with, kind of the projects mostly that we were doing was like building these childhood experiences for the kids. Okay. So that they could have
like a childhood like reality. Yeah.
They're going to school and these girls, they're not going to talk about their experience, obviously. And they're all these friends are like, oh yeah, my dad, my mom, and I celebrated this holiday, and that sucks to go home and you don't have a parent that at least they're not a parent that you can trust. Or maybe you have a parent but you can't be with them because like the family's unsafe. And so we would, we did Halloween, we did Christmas, we did Thanksgiving, and then like their own holidays like Diwali and all this stuff. And it was really cool to like, it's funny because people are like, well, what was your impact? And it was like, happy children. Wow. So like giving these kids these like life altering experiences as a kid, and seeing them kind of light up, and you see the trust kind of slowly build over time. one of our projects for that specific like purpose was helping them trust men again, was the gentleman's dinner. There was a few guys in that group of volunteers, and one of them had the idea. He was like, well, what if we what if we served them, And so there's like 70 girls, all ages. And the requirements was like they had to be escorted to their chair,
Yeah.
They had to get their like the chair pulled out, and like just what would a gentleman do,
Yeah. Wow.
And they had to get their dinner served to them, and just completely like their night. And as men, we were going to be the ones to serve them. And
yeah.
it was cool. We had some locals join us, so like those young boys got to kind of participate too.
Wow.
And the girls would be like, "Wow, like I've never felt this way before. I feel like a princess." And
Yeah.
like,
wow.
That's the point. So it was cool because we had a little like pep talk too with like the young men that were there, talking about like how important it is to treat women this way and treat women respectfully and all this stuff. And they were like pumped. They were so excited to like do this super cool thing. And some of the girls were screaming, like having so much fun, and other girls were crying because like this is the first time they were treated well, by a man.
Wow.
And so, I was like, this is probably my favorite project that we've done so far.
Dude, that's incredible. Like I'm just like feeling that right now.
Yeah.
Like it's making me a little bit emotional. That's so cool. Wow. Takeaways that you have had. I'm just like, what have been some of the big takeaways from that? Maybe that specific experience, but I'd say just overall, like, have there been any just big, like aha moments or maybe reaffirming things that you've kind of been like, oh yeah, that's definitely a truth.
There was like a experience with one of the young girls that kind of encapsulates like my entire experience with these people in Nepal, because they're all incredible. Like these girls are awesome, and they're all talented. They're all like, as a father, when you see these kids grow up, it's just not to say that by the time we become adults, we're like dull and dumb. It's just, there's something about kids. It's like, there's just this ball of energy, and there's light and all this stuff. So that was really cool to see and witness, and just see them kind of open up and become like trusting again. But
yeah.
I would say one experience that kind of encapsulates my whole experience with all of them was this one girl. Like I met her probably like my first month in Nepal, and this was like 3 days after this whole like assault had happened to her, and it was her uncle.
Oh wow.
And so she shows up to the shelter, and she's not talking to anybody. She's not like, no expressions, just you can tell it's like shock still. And the way that they've operated, I don't know how to this day exactly how like they operate in this like special way, but these girls come in and they're just let alone. Like they can do whatever they want for like 2 weeks, just feel. No one forces them to eat. No one forces them to like participate. They're inside the shelter, so they're safe.
Yeah, just a place to be. Yeah.
And then like after that, it's like the next 2 weeks, then they're like asked to join like meals, and then they can go do whatever. So like they have this like slow process of getting them integrated in. Eventually they're doing chores, and eventually they're showing up for prayer circles, and so soon they're integrated, but like kind of at their own pace.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so I kind of got to see this girl go through this whole process, but it was fun to see how like her personality was like so resilient. So after about 2 weeks, she's already like, smiling at you and laughing at you, and I don't understand what she's saying at this point. So, but I would just like smile and wave. Like this was the protocol, right? Like I can't approach; I can just respond, or like from a distance engage. So I would just like smile and wave and make sure that she like I was acknowledging her, and she would like slowly start smiling or waving back, and then she'd like point at me, say something, and run away. And then she'd point at me and laugh, and then say something and run away. So like our whole relationship was just her like teasing me in a language I didn't understand.
Yeah, like just insulting you, or who knows what, right? But it was funny to her.
Exactly.
So you're like, cool.
And I laughed too, because I'm like, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
It just went on for a few weeks, and about a month. She's like clearly getting more comfortable, more trusting with
Yeah.
all the other girls too, and so it's cool to see. She starts dancing a little bit, and with their little dances that they always do, like once a week at least. And one day, after a while of this little like distance interacting, I'm like in the courtyard writing my journal, and she just, runs out of her. I don't even know where she came from, because their rooms are like all up here, and the courtyard is down in the front, and then there's like a kitchen. Anyway, so most of them are like praying or doing their homework or something, and she comes down, and I'm writing in my journal, and she grabs my journal, like puts it down, and then she like replaces herself with my journal like in my lap, and then she grabs my hand, and then grabs my pen, and writes something on my hand in Nepali, and I was like, cool. My first tattoo, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And like based on our normal interactions, it's probably some swear word or something.
Just teasing.
Yeah. And then she like reads it and like points at me, and then I'm like, yeah.
Right.
Then she writes in perfect English, like also really beautiful handwriting. And then she reads it in perfect English. So the first time I even knew she spoke English. But it says, "You are a good boy." And I remember like getting emotional because like it was I don't know, you're kind of like bestowed with this title by someone who like they know what the worst of a man is. And so like being given that was probably like, I was like, I am a good boy, like this is the greatest title I could ever have. And we became really close after that. And it's funny because like when you ask me like, what does a Nepali person look like? It's like, dude, some of them look Chinese, some of them look Indian, some of them look like they're just
Very
so
diverse.
many different diverse ethnicities there. And she was just lighter skinned, and everyone would like tease her that she was like my daughter or something. But we became really close because of this experience and this like gradual process of learning how to create a safe space for someone to trust you enough to like open up to you.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like one of my biggest takeaways, or the biggest takeaway of that whole experience, was just like learning how to be the man that you need to be to the women in your life, really.
Yeah.
Because like that's the same pattern I've tried to do with everyone else. Like that's how I had to, like learning when I was dating my wife, like she had a really difficult past, and and I had to create that safe space as the same way, and like until I could be like the good boy again in her eyes anyway.
Yeah. No, that's actually the perfect segue, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that too, because you've been married for how long now?
2 years. Like,
2 years recently?
I think last weekend was like my proposal anniversary.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. So not too long ago.
Yeah.
This is like, and you've been in Utah your adult life, like for the most part?
Actually only like 4 or 5 years now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
all right.
Colorado originally.
Colorado. Okay, cool. Well, I was just going to point out to our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with the Utah culture, there is a bit of pressure for young men to go and date and get married. And I wasn't sure if you felt subject to that or not. Maybe not as much in Colorado.
No, I think when you're outside the bubble, it's a little different.
It's a little different. Okay, cool.
And she's also not from here, so.
Yeah. Okay, so there wasn't that kind
Luckily,
of that pressure or whatever beforehand. Okay, cool. But you guys met here, is that right? Okay. Man, so I want to touch on something you brought up earlier and try to connect all of this, because you mentioned, this like manosphere thing is having a moment because there was a documentary and just things in the press and whatever. And there's this really toxic version of all of that. And then there's this version of like, well, no, there is this healthy masculinity that does include strength, and it does include like maybe being dangerous, but being controlled, right? And using that power with judgment, with discernment, and only as a means of defending, not attacking or oppressing or whatever, right? Like there's all of that. And I'm just speaking to this because like just your appearance, like you have an appearance of strength. You know what I mean? Like you've got you know, a physique that looks like powerful. And I know you do things like martial arts, right? What is
Muay Thai?
Muay Thai? Yeah. And there is something about that that's like this more raw, kind of aggressive, maybe I would say masculine energy around that. But also it's the contrast of that, of like creating a safe space. And I actually think, how powerful is it maybe for, you know, I think women in general, maybe young women especially, to see somebody that looks like they're powerful, but that is so gentle, and just like how powerful that is for them, you know, to see that example. Anyway, I'd love to just touch on like coming into full circle of like, okay, now you're dating, and you have this skill set that you've developed of helping create safety. And I think that is just one of the core needs of the feminine, right? Is to feel safe, to feel like they're protected in a way. I just any insights on this, because I like the Muay Thai plus the like, oh, I can be safe. There's such opposition in this that's really interesting to me, but I think it's necessary. Like I think it's we need that as men to be able to embody both. And just any additional like thoughts or insights on that.
Yeah, we actually watched the Manosphere together.
Oh, I still haven't seen it, but okay.
I mean, in the short, it's good. Like it's a good thing to know.
Okay, yeah, good for awareness. And
it's hard to watch, I would say, like
just
because you're like, whoa, this is wild, and like it's not even the beginning. It's like only a few guys. I know there's a lot of different contributors to that out there,
right.
But it was I guess you saw these men kind of just outing themselves. You could say like the documentary guy was, you know, this was his purpose of it, but I think he really was just going in to be like, tell me like about yourself. And then they do, and then everyone's like, whoa, you said everything we expected.
Revealing.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
like you didn't even like try to cover it up. And I was like, dang. But I do think it's interesting, because this is kind of, I know like when I've done those retreats with you, you do get into like the Jungian like shadow and the male archetype. I think it's interesting because when you look at the manosphere, I honestly have listened to a lot of the stuff just because I like want to know where they're coming from. If they're like, what do you mean? Because it's funny, like you'll listen to these guys and they'll say something random that's totally true. Like, you need to work hard. Yeah, you do. You know, you need to be strong or whatever. It's like, so like they throw in these things where it's like, yeah, but then they'll say something that's just like wild, and you're just like, no, not that
right.
one.
Right.
But I think this is how the shadow is anyway, because like when you have the like weakened, I've instead of calling it like toxic, I think it's more accurate to say like the weakened masculine.
Or maybe immature. Would that be
Immature,
accurate too? Okay.
It's just because it's like an underdeveloped
Yeah.
man, really.
Yeah.
Who's like they've leaned in and like bolstered their weaknesses instead of trying to heal them or strengthen them. And then they've compensated that by the only thing you really can, and that's like physical prowess. You know, if you become really buff and strong, like what else matters in other people's like eyes, you know?
Yeah.
And rich, I guess, is another one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You're strong, you have resources. And so in your mind, you're like, I'm good, I'm powerful. And like, yeah, you are in some ways, but like when it comes to relationships, like you have let your weaknesses run rampant, that like you can't, like all these men don't have relationships. And so it's like we have young men listening to men who don't have relationships on how to have a relationship. Which sounds wild.
Yeah, a little bit of irony.
Yeah, if you want to know how to have a successful relationship, you should talk to someone who does, you know?
Right.
But no, I think I had talked to my wife about that, because like, what do you think when it comes to like strength? And she's like, no, it does matter in the sense of like knowing that you can like take care of me is big. And knowing that you're willing to take care of me. Because I think if externally, yeah, like if someone were to jump you or whatever, like would I beat them up? Of course. But like even more so, like do you create a safe environment for her to be herself?
Yeah.
And I think the manosphere and that whole movement is more about like creating an environment for yourself and then like fitting the woman into it, and she's like this add-on to your life.
Oh, right.
Instead of as a man, your responsibility is to create an environment for her so that she can like move through her, metamorphosis and her development.
It makes it sound almost possessive, that first description of like, I'm gonna,
like, this is my person.
Right.
When it's like, no, like, you got to go slay your dragon. Like, that's what the male does for sure. Like, go on the crazy adventure to like develop yourself.
Right.
And she's got to do her like inner work and like awaken and like, according to the Jungian archetypes. And she has to do that inner development. And it's like, if you're gonna have this union, like, you need to create a space where she feels safe enough to do that.
Yeah.
And I think in a very real way, we live in a society that kind of like expects women to go slay the dragon too. And that's fine if you want to go slay a dragon. But I think we don't like the idea of creating a safe space for the woman is like inconvenient or seen as like, we don't have time. We need to go focus on the business. We need to go focus on the adventure and the fitness and all. Yeah. So like when people are like, why isn't my relationship working? I was like, well, she doesn't feel safe to be,
Yeah.
So she has to put on her masculine in order to compensate for the lack of your ability to kind of create that for her, which I don't think you have to be buff or anything, but like being able to have that kind of inner protector, inner warrior that she can trust, I guess. And so kind of that same thing, like you create a safe space for her to feel like she can trust you, feel like she can trust herself, and she doesn't have to be scared of the external when she has someone to be there for her.
Yeah.
At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, no, I do want to speak to that masculine energy concept, right? Of being even as a protector. I think yes, there is the physical component to that, but that's not exclusively what it's about.
Exactly.
And I just want to touch on that because like I know I don't look at myself and be like, oh yeah, I could like protect my woman from anything. I'm like, no, I probably would get beat up by a lot of people, and that's okay, right? It's not about like, that's not what we mean when we're talking about the strength in the masculine. It's not just about like being a big, macho, strong, buff guy. Yeah, exactly. It's but I think there is that expression of it, and that's a great thing too, and that's something that we can all like explore and cultivate. But it's not the only expression of strength in the masculine. I just want to like make that super clear. But, and I'm prefacing all of this because I want to get into the Muay Thai a little bit, where it is very much the physical. And from what I understand, like, haven't you gotten your wife into it a little bit? And just tell me a little bit what that's been like.
No, and just to kind of piggyback, I would say like the strength of character is like what
the most important
woman is looking for, in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, she might have her preferences or whatever, but like, they want to know like you're a strong person.
Yes.
And not that women aren't strong. It's just
there's an attraction to that. I think. Yeah. I think the feminine is attracted to that strength, right?
Strength of character. Yeah. Which, honestly, like I've been, like Nicky Covington.
Yeah.
And his whole pitch on martial arts, like, changed my life. I just love how he talked about how martial arts is like a more, because when you watch the movies and stuff, there's all the cool like moves and everything. Of course, that's awesome. But he talks about how like the purpose of martial arts and like the forms, and regardless of which practice you do, it's like to metabolize, the evil and darkness in yourself.
Yeah, the inner martial art, he called it. Yeah,
that's like really the purpose of, and I would say because when I started Muay Thai, I was like, I really want to know like the spiritual side of this too. So like I read books and like I did all this stuff.
Cool.
And, like many martial arts, it has a very spiritual beginning.
Cool.
And like philosophy that comes with it. And in the same way, it's a part of the tradition is Mount Meru, which is like in the Thai mythology and in Hinduism and Buddhism. It's kind of like the center of the universe, if you will. But at the top is like enlightenment and heaven. In the middle is basically like your mortality, like learning, growing, figuring it out. And then at the bottom would be like hell of suffering and confusion. And they kind of use Mount Meru as like a inner like archetype. Like we all start in hell as we like progress through this journey, right? Yeah. And then your period of learning and figuring it out, and then ideally you'll arrive in like enlightenment.
Yeah.
And so it's been cool to kind of experience that inside of yourself during Muay Thai, because like when you start a martial art, it's scary.
Yeah.
I did it because I wanted to challenge myself, and I feel like if you want to be brave, it's do something scary. So I just wanted to like be more brave in my life, and being able to go into a room and get punched in the face for 2 hours is and getting used to it.
Okay, and yeah. this is literal. I mean, you're literally getting hit. I mean, are you sparring? Is that what it looks like? Okay, but because you're the beginner, you're like, I don't.
Well, that's what's cool about like the martial artists, I would say, is you know, when someone joins a gym, if it's a good gym, like everyone lowers to that level when they're sparring with you.
Yeah, they're
like,
kind of
no one's gonna
restraining a little bit to because they're trying to help you learn, but they're also exposing maybe like where your defenses aren't strong or whatever, right?
Because like they have already like, and it's funny because like when people enter a gym, the most dangerous people are like really experienced jerks or new guys that don't know what they're doing.
Right. That could hurt you accidentally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would say like most people are experienced, but they're good.
Not jerks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So they already know how to control themselves.
Right.
So they'll hit you, but like they know how not to hit hard, and they know like what to do to make you like, shoot. And then that's how you learn, of course. So like if you get hit in the face, you weren't blocking.
Right.
It's like, okay. But they're not gonna like knock you out.
Right.
They don't have anything to prove. They literally are like, oh, do this, do that.
Yeah, they're teaching you along the way.
And so it's cool because I remember like the first day I got my mouth guard, they were like, oh, so we can turn it up now. And it was cool because like that respect of like, you're ready for more, like I'll give you more, but still not going nuts.
Yeah.
And then by the time you are ready to actually hard spar, it's that like mutual respect.
Yeah, and you've got the skills to be able to go at that level. Yeah.
And so then I invited my wife, and so she started coming. And the first day, I think I was the first one who hit her, actually. I like hooked her right in the chin on accident because I was trying to like step back and do it, but it wasn't like super hard. But it was, first time. So
you connected.
She like started crying, and
oh my gosh,
our coach came over to us and he was laughing. He's like, first punch to the face. She was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, don't worry. Like in a few weeks, like you're gonna be fine. First time's always scary. And it was cool because like, like a month or two later, she's got like really good leg work, and she like kicked me in the face like pretty hard too. And so he was like, see, you're catching on. And then another time we were sparring, like I got her with a kick like right to the ribs, and she just laughed it off. And he was like, isn't it funny? Like a few months ago you were crying, and now you're just laughing it off. And she was like, it feels good. It feels good. So it's cool. It was cool to see her grow in her own confidence, because I think combat sports for anyone really does give you like a sense of like control over your body. Definitely a sense of control over your mind, because you have to like be able to calm everything down.
Yeah.
because during a hard spar, everyone has gear on, but it's still first few times you're like,
it's intense, right? Yeah.
This guy's coming for me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But kind of like Nikki said, I think when people, what combat sports has been for me anyways, is really, it's been a way for me to like kind of control my emotions and be able to be kind of level-headed in that intensity.
Yeah.
So
did anything come up for you when you accidentally punched your wife?
Oh, I like, oof, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel super bad.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I just hit my wife. Which is funny now because like we spar all the time, but you know, you're like, am I a good person?
Couples who spar together stay together.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I imagine that has probably brought an unexpected level of like maybe intimacy, trust, just to be in that kind of an environment or setting together. Like that could be really challenging, I think, for a lot of marriages, a lot of couples, right? To face off like that. Or maybe it would like reveal some things, you know, like some pent up aggression might be coming out in some way, right? Like
certain days are getting hit harder.
Yeah, I mean, it could be very exposing, I imagine.
Well, it's been cool because there has been days where, you know, we argued or whatever beforehand, but the respect was still there.
Yeah,
like as we're fighting each other,
right?
And like still checking if the other person's okay and making sure that.
So these are like skills that carry over in all aspects, right?
And that's like after a good workout, most of that like emotion gets off gassed anyway. So it has been really cool because we like look forward to fighting each other in a very real way. And like we'll go hard now because she's gotten a lot better, but honestly, she's become kind of dangerous in the gym because she's just got really long legs. And so everyone just knows like,
watch out for those kicks. Yeah.
She's hit like everyone in the head now. It was pretty cool. So like when she got me the first time, I was like proud, just because I was like, she's getting good.
Yeah. Wow. And for those who know Annie, I mean, I've only met her a few times, but she's just such a gentle, like sweet, like this. You would not think like, oh yeah, she's out there like kicking people in the head, you know?
No, she's very like intuitive. It's funny too because like we have a really awesome coach, but she's been able to like connect with him and kind of talk to him about like his life and stuff like that. I think it's really cool that he's been so great to her, and in the same way she's like, you know, he's teaching her how to kick butt, but she's been kind of talking to him about how to like heal and different things in his life. It's pretty cool. That's
awesome because she does that kind of work, right? She's what's the practice that she does?
Kinergetics.
Yeah.
And then also just like fascia stretching. She's kind of married those two, so it's
cool.
It's been cool to see her clients, you know, stretching, but then also being able to like go deeper into their lives, and some of it's like reflexes, and some of it's more like the energy and trapped emotions that they haven't been able to release yet. And so
like body keeps the score kind of stuff, right? Like where are we retaining or where have we suppressed things, and how do they show up in the body, and what can we do in a somatic way, right, physically, that allows things to move, to release, to be felt. Has she worked with you in that way?
Yeah. And like that's honestly like marrying the two has been really cool because when she's stretching people, it gets like emotional randomly for a lot of people.
She's doing hands-on adjustments. So there's certain poses. Look, just explain this real quick.
Well, like for stretching, it's like fascia. She's focusing on the fascia, which is like, you know, like the white connective tissue, and making sure that is loose and like healthy. So she'll do all these different kinds of stretches on you, but most of the time when you go to like a fascia stretch, it's just like you pay for a stretch and you go afterwards.
It's just focused on the physical alone, right?
What she likes to do is really focus on their personal need.
Yeah.
So it might be literally just like my shoulder hurts or whatever.
Yeah.
But typically, people's like emotional states are linked to whatever that pain is.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say stretching is the only medium, right? There's massage, there's a lot of different things,
Yeah.
but stretching is particularly useful in this. But she has been able to help people like move that pain out of there, which when you have an emotion kind of stored in a spot, like you will feel it.
Yeah.
So like immediately tears will come to someone. So for me, at least for my own experience, it was actually the top of my head. I just had all this like super tender, and so she was just kind of like, it's not really stretching, but kind of like a head massage, and she asking me like where I felt it, and then at one point she was like, "What color is it?" And I was like, "Whoa, it is like it was like green and red and like all these different colors." So then with her kinergetics, she like was able to give me a bit more insight on. I was kind of holding on to a bunch of emotions, and as she was kind of releasing that, I felt them.
Wow.
And afterwards it was cool because like the tenderness was gone. So
right,
I was
you
like,
felt the physical change. Yeah,
it's complete. And like to this day, like I feel fine. But based on kind of what she had learned, it was just stuff that I was carrying actually from like my family, because we love my family, great stuff. But you know, I think every family has a lot of untalked, like things we don't share, we don't disclose with each other, and a lot of missed opportunities. And those emotions, if you're not gonna let them out, like they settle.
Yeah.
And so, for me, that's what my experiences was with that. But she's had like a lot of those kind of experiences, just helping people kind of stretch out their emotions and experiences that they've been holding on to.
That word you used, it was kinergetics?
Kinergetics, yeah.
Can you define that? Or explain it?
You know, I'm not the one, but
okay, that's all right.
It's in the field of like energy work.
Okay.
But more some things like that go in line with kinergetics is like reflexology, and you're kind of like they study the chakras, they study the like different parts of the body. It's you're working with like those energy flows.
Yep.
So kind of, I don't want to like get too much into what I don't know, but essentially the flow of energy through the body.
Yeah. Okay.
Is what I understand it to be.
Cool. Right on. Okay. So you guys have had some very contrasting experiences as a couple in doing your own like progress, growth, learning, both individually, but also with each other. And that's pretty rare. That's really cool that, that you've been able to go to those places. I would love to hear, maybe just, we kind of wrap up with this. If there's anything else that has been a standout moment for you in just your own personal journey of getting clarity of who you are, of your purpose, of maybe healthy masculinity, just if any of those things kind of bring up a specific event, memory, experience, modality, a practice, maybe it's like, yeah, it's been through martial arts, or it's been through, you know, these therapeutic tools, or, you know, probably a combination of all of them, right? But if there are any of those things that stand out to you that you wouldn't mind sharing, just for us to hear and be like, oh yeah, cool. Like maybe I'll check that out, or, oh, I've had a similar experience, or I'd like to have a similar experience, right?
I think something that stuck with me since I learned it was I took a class at BYU Idaho, actually, because you have to take these different religion classes. And one of them was funny, I don't remember exactly. I think it was called like Sacred Light or whatever, but it was studying like eternal truths through different religious lenses.
Oh yeah. And so I know there's like world religions classes, but it's a little, okay. It's like finding the common threads between all of them. I love that idea.
It was awesome.
Very cool.
Really cool. Like we'd meditate every day.
Nice.
But one of the biggest, I guess, most impactful lessons we did was the concept of detachment and impermanence. And so like I started this practice of detaching, and it was a long journey of like trying to figure out what it even meant, because at first it was like, all right, detach from everything and don't feel.
Right.
But then it was like,
You're
no,
like,
no,
oh,
no.
that's suppression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like learning that it wasn't detaching like as an escape, but detaching from like outcomes
Mm.
so that you can feel, so that you can more fully accept things as they are. Because like when you attach yourself to the end result of the experience of, your relationship, of your job, like whatever it is, you're not here anymore. Like now you're there.
Mm.
And so, and then what happens when the end result isn't what you wanted it to be?
Right.
So now you've shattered your identity. You don't know who you are anymore.
Yep.
So really,
there's pain and suffering with the unmet expectation or attachment. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, there is pain in life, and it's not the idea of, I think one of the Buddhist teachings that, they say, pain is reality, but suffering is optional, essentially.
Right.
So it's like when you detach from results, when you detach from these identities that you wrap around yourself, you're able to more fully accept the experiences that come in, process them, feel them, go through them, but also let them go.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like the breathing practices, like as you breathe something in, good or bad, whatever the experience is, like it's going to be with you for a minute, but then you have to let it go. So this helps with like bad experiences.
Yeah.
Because it's the idea of like, you have to take it in, you have to let it be a part of your life, but you don't have to hold on to it either. So like you can let that go. But it's also been hard because as good experiences come, you have to let those go too, like because you have to make room for the next breath, whatever that is. And so that's been really helpful for me. And it kind of just goes really in line with the idea of impermanence, because the same thing, like we're always in a state of flux. And especially for like masculinity, I think we can wrap our identity around certain concepts and certain images that we give to ourselves. And like, oh, if I don't maintain this persona, who am I? And it's like, well, it's kind of the fun part, you can be whoever you want to be. So that idea, like you're always changing, and it's okay to try something new, be someone else. You're never going to be the same person today in 10 years. And so it's like, don't grab onto all these different identities with such a tight grip that you lose out on the opportunity for change and metamorphosis. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
It's just being able to like be grateful for all this stuff that comes and goes, instead of thinking that like this is the only good thing in my life right now, and if I let it go, like what does that mean? It means that there's something else coming, and get ready for it. So
I love that. That reminds me, I'll refer to Nikki again, since we've been, he's a top of mind right now. I love the way he talked about, in the practice of Tai Chi, of moving with ease. And there's a strength in that, but there's this flow and this ease. And, it might've been the first time I heard this from him, was like, because he's like, we're so tight and we're so clenched. And he's like, and that's the opposite of ease. And we could call that dis-ease. And then you put that word together and it's disease, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is such a cool and crazy concept. And then he also pointed out that ease is in the word release, which I hadn't ever really thought about before. I don't know if there's an etymological link there. Yeah, release, right? But yeah, moving with ease, allowing things to flow and release. That is, that just feels like a very humble and like centered way to move through life, albeit can be challenging because we 100%. Have such an instinct to want to grasp and cling on. But yeah, I love that. I love that concept and that practice. Yeah, thank you. Very cool insight.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to ask me for fun before we close out?
We talked about that with your son going through that coming of age thing. I it's been on my mind because I think, in the LDS faith, especially here locally, I do think there's a level of like coming of age ritual you could say a mission can provide.
Yeah.
But as we all know, like for some boys that didn't work. But for others, totally. Like,
Yeah.
however, I think as a culture, um, I would say we're missing some sort of like transition
Yeah.
experience. I know you did something with your son, but I would love to know more about like your thoughts on what do you think would that look like, or what
Yeah.
could look like,
Yeah.
um,
Like rite of passage kind of
something like
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Because I know like other cultures have it. Some of them like kind of rough, but others
Yeah.
are like that's pretty cool. You know, like
Yeah.
what?
Well, I put this question out there when my son was about to turn 18. I put it out there on LinkedIn, I think. I was just like, hey, does anybody do something to like celebrate this milestone? And it's the age that, for whatever reason, we've assigned to young people that like, now you're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's 18, now you're an adult. And then 21, oh, now you have some other rights or privileges or whatever, right? So I don't know how those were created initially. Yeah. They're just part of our, our culture now. But I put it out there and I heard a couple of cool things. Like one guy talked about, he does a kind of a wilderness experience for his kids. Maybe they were younger than 18 though. It might've been like 14 or 15 or something. But, and then so I don't remember the specifics, but it was like some kind of camp out where they had to like rough it a little bit and kind of be on their own for a while in nature. And another one was sort of around like these meaningful like milestone gifts, like, oh, they get a pocket knife when they're this old, and then they get kind of these tools or things that can maybe represent like survival or masculinity or even power, right? Weapons and things like that, right? So I heard a few interesting inputs like that. I definitely think there's a need, just to speak to your question more broadly. I definitely think there's the need that you already spoke to. Like, too many boys are going into adulthood and not actually understanding what it means to become a man and what is healthy masculinity, and they're getting all kinds of examples and models of what it is from the world, from culture, from movies, from social media, from the manosphere thing, and yet so many boys are craving this, and that's why I think those men have been successful in the work that they're doing, because they're like, hey, you're looking for a role model, let me show you this way, even if there's some things about it that are potentially harmful or toxic or misguided or whatever, right? I haven't watched the thing yet. I'll check it out. But I think that boys need and want and crave that roadmap to what does it look like to become a man. And so what opportunities are there currently? And I think there are some baked into culture, and some are healthy and some are less so. And some come from family, which might be healthy or less so, right? Depending on the family. And so there's all these ways that it happens. But what I decided to do was create a little bit of a ritual for celebrating that milestone. And I'll try to recap it pretty quickly, because we talked about it before we started recording here. But I invited men and just older guys, maybe young men, but guys that were older than him, that were, relatives, teachers, people in the community that he had connected with, people from our church community. I invited all these guys, these men, to come and join this, 2-hour session. And so we circled up. I brought my son out. He didn't know exactly what was going to happen. He just knew something was going to happen. So he walks into this room and he sees all these mentors in the room, including his grandpa, who's like, he's 85 at the time, right? And it was just this beautiful moment of like, whoa, this is like this group of men that have impacted me, that I look up to, and now they're all here for me. And just that alone was meaningful. If they had just shown up just to say, hey, we see you,
Mm-hmm.
and we honor that you're turning 18. Like, that alone is a cool thing, right? I then had them each share, introduce themselves and how they knew my son. And then I asked them to share who had been a mentor to them, like a role model, a male example, and what they learned from that person. And so there was just tons of beautiful insight and wisdom that came through them sharing all of their experiences, and kind of showing him like, almost a reflection of where he is now. Like they had somebody teach them something in those earlier years, right?
Yeah.
And then we talked about masculinity. We talked about the healthy versus the unhealthy, or the immature, the mature versus the immature. And there's some great resources out there for things like that. You mentioned the Jungian archetypes. Like we talked about the masculine archetypes, and what are the shadow versions of those, right? Just for awareness and discernment and clarity. Like, oh, okay, because a lot of things out there could be confusing. Of, oh, that's what it means to be a man, right? So we were like, no, let's get clear on this, and we had a lot of discussion with the group. So there was a lot of good insight shared from various people that were there. And then we went through a little process that was kind of like a light version of what we do at the retreats of Transformation Labs. And he was brave, and there was some vulnerability. We opened it up to, hey, what are some of the things that we are maybe afraid of, or some of those shame identities that come up for us every so often? Like that's also part of being a man. Like we didn't want it to be all just like rose-colored, like, oh yeah, it's just, this strong, perfect version. Yeah, it's like, no, we as men are also dealing with opposition, with challenges, with struggles, with just the difficulties of life. And so I wanted to make sure that was apparent, right? It's not like everyone has arrived except for you, and now you need to arrive. And it's like, no, like we're always going to be working on this stuff, right? And so some of the men opened up and shared some really vulnerable and awesome things that were good for my son to hear, and just be like, okay, yeah, this is real. And then he identified his own fears and shame identities. And we went through a process where he was able to kind of push through those, maybe just let them move through him and release them. And there was kind of a physicality component to that. And it was just it was a beautiful exercise. And then we bestowed him a gift. And I had found a sword, like as a symbolic gift of arriving at manhood. Had a message engraved on it, and everyone just held that. It was wrapped up, and everyone held it, and the prompt was, hey, if you could just bestow a gift on this young man,
embed it in the sword, basically.
Yeah, basically, right? So they all went around and said something, and they were all just beautiful, right? Just great things that they wished to give him, and then he opened it at the end, and now he has this thing that represents all those gifts. It represents this milestone. It represents power, which can be wielded for good or evil, right? As a man can, as masculinity can be that. And it's just hanging in his room as this reminder of what that experience meant. And it was beautiful. And then some other people brought some gifts, and we just spent some time talking at the end. But it was a simple thing, but it was really impactful. It was really powerful. And no, he didn't go and slay an animal or something, but he did some internal work. He faced some things, and I think that was just as significant, just as powerful as like going and doing some physical feat. So yeah, thanks for asking about that.
No, I love that. I think that like states of transition. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure if you like went back into like more ancient Europe, there's probably something, but travel.
Probably in the States too. Just, I don't know, things have maybe gotten lost in just our way of life, right? Like the conveniences or whatever of life. It's like it's harder to have those real life examples of like, oh, now it's time for you to like go and be the hunter or go and whatever, right? But yeah, it's I think we lost something about transitioning into manhood and adulthood in that. And so to find something like that, I think is cool. And I tried one version. I thought it was awesome. Anybody wants to do that, go for it. If you have other ideas, like message us. Let me and Jesse know, because we're curious. So
do you have a younger son?
I do, yeah.
Do you plan on doing the same kind of thing, or think of something more?
No, I think for sure we'll do something like that, and it'll evolve. And there are other things that we have done. I mean, my son wanted to go skydiving when he turned 18, and so we did that. We did a Via Ferrata, like this crazy hike in Muren in Switzerland, and that was kind of this you know,
Like
this coming of age moment,
Yeah.
like milestone moments. So those are still
introducing fear.
happening. Yeah. Like, how do you move through the challenge? And yeah, I think those are super important too. And we've done some of those. It just wasn't as ceremonial, I guess, or like deliberately intentional around like, hey, you are now
You're
turning this
transitioning
age.
to
Yeah.
this next phase of life.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. When I first saw your post, I was like, we need more of this.
Thanks, man. Cool. Well, Jesse, it's been so good to have you on. Thank you for sharing, man, those stories and your experiences and the things you've been learning and experiencing now with your wife. And congrats again on 2 years coming up. And yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you.
No, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Right on. Okay.